Hello, Heart and Soul Collective. You may notice we have an additional person if you're watching us live or watching us on a recording, or you'll hear another voice. And that voice is of the miraculous Katrina Pierson. I had to just go deep for that one. I'm so excited to talk about her, to have her share her huge just resume of talent and things that she's done in her life with all of you, and have her drop her wisdom down here to our group. So let's talk about and to Katrina.
Welcome to Heart and Soul, the podcast where we empower and inspire women to lead their best lives, harnessing the power of their hearts and souls. We are Mariah
And Monique.
your hosts and guides on this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
In each episode, we will dive deep into topics that matter most to you, from self-love and confidence to career development, relationships, and everything in between. We believe that every woman has a unique strength and inner wisdom waiting to be unleashed.
Join us as we cover insightful heart and soul-centered topics and interview incredible women who've overcome challenges, chased their dreams, and found their true purpose. Through all of this, you will discover practical tips, strategies, and real-life stories to help you navigate life's twists and turns.
For whatever season of life you're in, this podcast is your safe space to explore, learn, grow, and possibly even laugh and cry with us. So grab your headphones, maybe your favorite drink, and we'll embark on this transformative journey together.
With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique.
Welcome, Katrina, to the pod. We're so excited to have you. And just a little bit more about Katrina Pierson. We're going to share our own personal stories with how we know
Yes.
Katrina and how we knew she was one of the perfect fits to be a guest on our podcast.
I want to say, when you and I were, we were talking with Katrina once, I believe she is the reason we're here.
Oh my God, yes.
She put the bug in our ear.
She did. She's the one that said, guys, you should totally have a podcast. Oh my God.
Right?
Thank you, Katrina, for dropping that little seed, because apparently we
needed
we
this.
did it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you to you for doing that, because we got curious and we're like, well, what could that look like for us? And then here we are now with you. Yeah. So I remember meeting you years ago. I can't even remember. I've been on this local theater arts board. I feel like it's been my whole entire life. It's got to be like 10 years. And you walk in, this little person sit next to me with this big smile, and you're talking about all these fundraising things. And I'm like, damn, this girl knows what she's talking about.
Mhm.
And I knew you were from like a different town a couple hours away. And I was like, oh, well, she seems nice. And then all of a sudden, maybe during COVID, I see you like in Facebook on my feed, because I must have requested you a long time ago, but you just fall away from people, because this could have been 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, right? So all of a sudden, and then I noticed, wait, she lives in Duluth? Wait, she's into yoga? Wait, I need to actually get to know her. And so we reconnected talking about yoga and life experiences, and it was during COVID, so we were desperate for
Yeah.
community and connection. Well, I should just speak for myself. I was desperate.
Likewise.
Yes. And we've just grown a friendship out of that. So that, and then we got reintroduced to you. Well, I introduced you to Mariah through our mastermind group, which you chose to participate in. Yes.
Yeah, I had known of Katrina through the social media world as well. And I just remember her name would pop up, and Katrina's a memorable name, and it would pop up in like, oh, she's the expert on this. Oh, she's so good at this. Oh, like that's who you would call. And I was like, who is this? Who is this woman? And then Monique shared with me she was interested in participating in our mastermind. I'm like, great, because she's been on my radar as someone I need to meet. And then I met her, and I was like, she's an angel from heaven who is talented beyond belief
Mhm.
and has the most amazing presence. When you're with her, you're with her. Like, she is all in and cares so deeply for the people in her life. And through that time that we've spent together, traveling the world. We've been many different countries together and doing the work together. I've just grown to just love her every bit more. And I'm so excited that she's here today to talk to us. So, welcome, Katrina, to the pod.
Thank you guys. Jeez, I don't even know what to say.
Isn't it nice getting that much love?
You left me speechless.
Aw.
Oh, it's just, I've been so excited to just see this in action and to be a part of what you're doing. And I just feel so honored to have this conversation with you both. So thank you
Aw.
for inviting me on.
Well, nobody is a bigger cheerleader for others than you, and that's a lot of
Yes.
what you've grown your work around. So I want to also mention Katrina is the owner. What is your title?
Yeah, a founder and CEO. Yep.
Founder and CEO. I like how that sounds. Of Growth by Design, and I'd love for you to share with our audience your story, a little bit more about you, and ultimately about your company where you are at today, so that they can come on the Katrina journey with us.
Yeah. So thanks. So Growth by Design is a leadership development consulting firm, and we are based in Duluth and Rochester, Minnesota. And we work to help leaders fulfill their fullest potential. And so there are a couple different ways that we do that. One is through doing search and recruitment, which is a really exciting service that we're offering, or really emphasizing now more than ever. We also do team development work, team dynamic work, and work with groups on really fulfilling their purpose and performance together as a group. And then also, as Monique mentioned, I kind of cut my teeth in the consulting world in fundraising, specifically for major gift campaigns,
Mhm.
capital campaigns for what I call transformative projects. And so we also provide philanthropy support services as well. So, yeah, a lot to offer and always something new and exciting happening in the communities and the organizations that we work with.
And how did you grow into Growth by Design? How did you come to this type of work?
Oh, yeah.
Take us way back, early
Okay.
days.
So I used to sell trinkets on the side of the highway when I was 5.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, so it was like the raspberries, right? We had a raspberry patch, so I would sell raspberries. That was a thing. And then yeah, I would find like junk and I remember like taking out my little like plastic play school table and like covering it with a little tablecloth and putting it out on the road and standing behind it. And I had certainly the first time, definitely one experience of just complete disappointment.
Yeah.
The first time I stood out there and the only person to buy anything was my wonderful father.
Oh.
But I've always had that entrepreneurial bug, right? Like the
Mhm.
Yeah.
disease
The
of
disease.
Yes.
right?
It's an
Yes.
affliction.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's a blessing, right? So I think ever since I was just a small person, I've been in love with ideas.
Mm.
Ooh.
So I fell in love with the idea of having ideas and bringing them to life. And so that's taken so many different forms and
Yes.
shapes in my life, whether it's been an idea that I've had for a business or an opportunity, or an idea that our clients have had for a project or a way that they want to change the world that they're living in. I get inflow when I can really like embrace and feel an idea.
Mm.
And that's when I feel like my like skills and gifts and then all of the resources and tools that I've been blessed with and the wonderful people in my life kind of align to create whatever it is that I think the world needs to feel or see or receive.
That is so beautifully said and so definitely your gift. Like pulling all of those aspects of alignment and people and connecting everything into just such a productive and beautiful space. And I love picturing you as a little cute thing by the side of the
Like a
road. And
lemonade stand
I
and
think
working.
something that Monique and I both can relate to and share
Mhm.
is that like early inklings of
Mhm.
like I'm in love with ideas. Like I'm like, oh, that
Mhm.
really resonates. And like, how
Mhm.
can I sell that? And it's a certain kind of personality that you can connect with when you're like, "Oh, I get it. I
Mhm.
understand what that feels like and how you just have to make it happen in the world." So, I'm sure that is one of the many reasons that I instantly connected with you. Well, tell us about, just about the work that you're doing around leadership. And I know that you recently put on or were a keynote speaker at a conference. And I know the work that you do with women is really important to you, and that's important to us and a huge
Yes.
topic on our podcast and in the work that we do. So I love to hear about She Leads, because this is a great event that is ongoing and could something that people could participate that are
And I think
listening.
you had said too that you're going to eventually grow that to more than one city, right? So I think it's good to get on for our listeners to get on the ground floor. So throughout the Minnesota area, it's going to grow into other cities and yeah. So learning more about it, I think would be really great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just first before I go there, I want to say your comment about being in love with ideas and
Mhm.
that like one of the reasons why we're attracted to each other is like
Yeah.
I feel like you each have these like lights in you,
Aw.
like fireflies,
Oh.
and like I'm drawn to them. So
Oh, you're the moth to our flame. I don't know if that's good.
I love it.
Sorry.
Yes.
I love
Don't
it.
get burnt.
Well, there's a certain just like comfort with other people who can riff on an idea, who can just
Yes.
see a need and be like, "Ooh." I mean, even like you saying, "You two should have a podcast." And we're like, "Great idea." Right? Like that's I mean, there's something comforting in that and spending time with people that get it too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that that's one of the things that's been so wonderful, and I promise I'll get to She Leads, but before I forgot, just
Yeah.
about being involved in, your mastermind is that you both have the gift of seeing in others. I
Mm.
think oftentimes what they haven't yet seen in
Yes.
Yes.
themselves. And you make a point of calling them out, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
saying, like, you are here and that's okay, but you can be here. You have what it takes already on the inside. And I think so much of my excitement about being involved in that and just everything that I've received from that program is because I think that you did this beautiful work and continue to do in our sessions together of just like, Katrina, enough of the bullshit. Like,
Oh God,
oh,
we're
I
getting
forgot to
real.
ask. Oh, I forgot to ask. How
Yes,
much can I swear on here?
you're
And
fine.
yeah,
Just as
I
much
we
mean,
as
give
is
you
you
that even
want.
a swear
permission.
word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's pretty
It's
mainstream
two
at this
words
point.
together.
But like, yeah, I mean, like sometimes hard compassion of like,
Yeah.
step up, we see you, you got this, and we got you. Like, I always feel like you have had my back no
Mhm.
For
matter
sure.
what. So
Yes.
I just wanted to like tuck that
That's
in there.
really sweet of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because we don't always fully understand the impact of the work that we do,
Yeah.
even though we're passionate about it. And we do see lives changed, right? Like movement's going to happen. We don't know if we're helpful or not. So thank you for that. That was really kind.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love that the whole idea of like being able to see in someone else what they can't see. I like feel that about almost everyone I meet on the street. I just am like, I see
Mm.
you. I see
Mm-hmm.
you deeply.
Mm.
Get out of your own way. And I can often be a little bit of that tough love aspect of our dynamic, but because I just like I'm like, you can't delay. Get out of your own way. Like I see you. You're back there. Come on out. Let's go. And I love hearing that. You recognize that too. So
Yeah, you're
yeah.
like both mirrors, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you're
Mm-hmm.
your own unique mirrors to the people that you work with. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So She Leads was such a an uplifting day that we had in April, and we held it in the Brainerd Lakes area at Craigen's Resort, and it was, or sorry, Madden's Resort, excuse me. It was an incredible day. So let me quickly go back to the origins of it
Yeah.
because I don't want to take credit for it.
Yep.
It's not mine to take credit for. So the Entrepreneur Fund here, that's based here in Duluth, and their Women's Business Alliance, a
Okay.
couple of years ago, developed She Leads. And my business partner, Christy Ackley, was heavily involved as a founder as well. And so their whole idea was, how can we create a space for women who are either already entrepreneurs and want to up level or who are aspiring entrepreneurs to be able to share and pitch their ideas and receive really great expert feedback without the stress or the pressure that I think that we often feel as women in spaces that are designed by men.
Mm.
And so I love the way that they have described it in the past is that it's basically like Shark Tank without the teeth.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a
Yeah.
loving shark.
Yes, I love it. The tiger shark.
It's the
I
tiger
hear is
shark.
It's a little
loving.
nudge.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they had a pitch event for 2 years. And that was basically the sort of main focus of the event was for entrepreneurial women to come and to have the pitch and to have the experts providing them with feedback.
Oh, I didn't realize that's how it
That
started.
was
I
the
love
beginning.
that.
I didn't know
Okay.
that
Yeah.
either. Yeah. I
Very
like
cool.
that.
I love the concept of a pitch event.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then the folks who were organizing with the Women's Business Alliance came to Christy about it was probably only like 8 months ago and said, "We have our plates are really full right now,
Mhm.
and we really want to continue this program, this conference. We really feel that it's needed, and we've heard from the people who attended in the past years that it's needed. So would you be willing or interested in taking a leadership role in moving this forward this year and into the future?" And so the way that Christy and I work is we're both super fast movers,
Yes.
Yes.
which is awesome, right? Like,
Yes.
and we have people on our team who are not, so they keep us in check too. But I remember the phone call that she made to me, and she was like, "So," and this is like we've only been business partners for just over a year, so we're
Okay.
celebrating our 1 year anniversary as
Wow.
like merging.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we
Yes.
merged our consulting firms, and so it's really exciting time. But we were just a few months into our partnership at this time, and so we had a lot going on, right? Like behind the scenes. And she's like, "So there's this conference, and
We're kind of doing it.
Said yes.
I told the guys that we were in. I hope that's cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Let's not only do it, let's do it bigger.
Yeah.
Let's add a component." And she's like, "Seriously?" And I said, "Yep. Like if you're game, let's add a wellness component. Let's make this about providing opportunities for wholehearted leadership conversations."
Mm.
So like, yeah, so like offering a variety of different sessions, right? Like breakout sessions and a keynote that go beyond the pitch, that are really designed to resonate and speak to the needs of women who are in leadership or who are aspiring to be in a leadership position, but who are
Mhm.
already, essentially leading both at work and at home. And so that's what we did this year is we created this program with a variety of different tracks. And one of the really cool parts of it that I am proud of that we offered was a track specifically about leading in your life. So not just
Mm.
leading in the workplace, right? But like, what are the things that we need to know to excel in our relationships with our children? So like, we had a session on parenting.
Love
Oh,
that.
beautiful.
We had a session on financial management,
Yes.
personal finance, right?
Amazing.
Not like business for your, business, but like how can you make sure that you're utilizing everything that you have in terms of your resources and tools to excel and to lead in your life. So
Love it.
that was the goal was how do we look at the whole woman and provide the opportunities that that they need not only like in the education and in content, but also in the connections.
Mhm.
And so I was just like absolutely buzzing the whole time.
It's your sweet spot.
It is. It
Yeah.
was
It's,
just
yeah.
it was an incredible day. Yeah.
Oh, I love that you drove in, not only said yes to Christy that you wanted to participate, but you looked at how you could make it even better and enrich it. And sometimes people are so afraid of moving fast and thinking big and doing the work. I remember times that I've been in that headspace of like, oh my God, we could do this and this and this. And I'm met with just like, from often a group of men, uh,
Hmm.
yeah, no, I'm
Question.
not
Yeah.
really interested in taking that further. And then I'm out there doing it myself. And so I just love that energy of like, if I'm going to do it and I'm going to put my time into it, hell yeah, I'm going to make it better and more enriching and the whole, like, I just love that you share that willingness in everything that you do.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. And I don't have to be worried about saying yes to things because I am blessed with all of the people on our team
Yeah,
who make it happen
right.
and who, like, keep me in line and who text me, call me, remind me, right? Like, "Hey, you gotta do this." So we're just so lucky that we have this really dynamic, well-rounded team that saying yes to really fun opportunities is easy.
So at She Leads, you were also the keynote speaker. Am I right?
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share what you presented on because I think it's such a beautiful topic and it give me goosebumps just hearing it when you got to share with us. So I'd love for you to share with our listeners um, what you presented on.
Yeah, it was, really stunning to look back at the pictures from the keynote because what I opened with was power pose. So I had everybody stand up and hold a power pose for a full minute.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a long time, and it was a morning keynote too, so it was really the first time that because it was just a one-day conference, so it was really the first time that, like, these women were together in this space, right, like,
Yep.
as this group, and to be asked to stand up and, hold a power pose can feel really vulnerable, right, but it was so beautiful to look at the pictures of everybody standing there, either with their hands if you don't know what a power pose is, with their hands on their hips or their arms in the air, like as though they had just finished, the Grandma's Marathon here
Yeah.
coming up in Duluth this weekend, and it was stunning. And the main reason that I chose to open with that was because so much of what the purpose of the keynote was to help women who were in attendance think about embodiment and how they can embody their leadership
Yeah.
because we have been taught to disembody
Yes.
ourselves in leadership in our lives at work. We have been often punished, right, for like paying attention to our body, for embracing our heart. And so my talk was really about reconnecting your brain with your heart and leading and serving in leadership from a place of authenticity. And so providing some really like actionable ways to be able to prepare yourself in mind and body to be able to do that. And so one of those ways is before you go into a meeting, right? Like holding a power pose. I also demonstrated some of the ways that people can gain power through nonverbal cues. Oftentimes, we don't even
Mm,
know that they're doing it. Oftentimes, this is something that men do, and sometimes they do it on purpose. Sometimes they just sort of like absorb it right over their lifetime. So I demonstrated that, and I picked on my sister because she also happened to be there. And I walked into the audience, and I did the tenting of the fingers where, you're leaning
oh,
over onto the table. I did the sitting back, putting your hands and how many times have you seen someone,
oh
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
what's up? But it's important to know those on a conscious level so you can see when other people are doing them,
Yes.
but it's also important just to be aware of them as a tool or a strategy when you have to pull it out, when you are in a space where you might start to feel yourself shrinking, not necessarily because you need to receive affirmation from the outside in, but because when you hold poses that have that sort of history of power in our culture, in our American culture, in our North American culture, we are basically our brains tell our bodies, right? Like we are able to have that back and forth, and our bodies tell our brain, you are confident, you are powerful, your ideas matter. And so it's really
Mm.
about affirmation for yourself so that you can show up
Mhm.
and not shrink into that space. It's not about other people approving how you show up, how you act, what you think, what your ideas are. It's just really about creating the environment within your own energetic space to be able to support that confidence that you know that you need to exude.
Yeah,
Oh my
you
goodness.
had shared a little bit of a story with when we were chatting before we started recording about your own experience. So I'd really like you to share with our listeners how you kind of in your own life experienced dismissiveness and
The shrinking.
yeah, needed to learn more about it so that you could get out of that pattern maybe.
Yeah, no, thanks. I have so many stories about this. And I would be lying if I said that I'm, like, completely on the other side, right? So this
Right.
is an ongoing journey for me, is in, like, the awareness of when it happens and the checking of myself and how I respond internally. But I've come so far, and so, yeah, I think that I shared a couple of stories during the talk, but one in particular has to do with, just, like, my expressiveness. Like, I really move with my hands. I've, like, been trying not to, like, knock this microphone out out of my face. But when I was young, I loved singing, right? And so I was in choir, and I remember a particular day when, and you know, when you're in middle school, how like you don't actually hear what people think about you like directly, you hear it through someone else,
Oh
and they're like,
gosh,
"Oh,
yes.
so and so, yeah,
The gossip.
yeah." So yeah, Janie said that, Sarah said that she doesn't like the way you look when you sing.
Mhm.
But then I kept getting bombarded with like messages like that. Like it became like this narrative. I think it was in seventh grade, which I always tell my daughter who's going into 7th grade this year, if you can get through middle school, you can get
Yeah.
through
You're gonna be
anything in
Gosh,
fine.
life.
truth.
Yes.
It's the hardest time in your life, but the
Yes.
time when you can grow the most and learn the most about yourself.
Yep.
So, I just remember having this experience of being told, like, "You are too Whitney Houston-esque when you sing, like, your mouth opens too wide, you use your hands too much." And so over time, I just really started to be super self-conscious about not really necessarily my voice, but my expression, and I realized that it hurt me so deeply. This came way later when I realized it. I mean, I felt the hurt, of course, and the pain during the time, but the reason that it hurt so badly was because it was a feeling of shame.
Mm.
Yes.
Right? Like, it was this feeling of you don't get to, like, express who you are. Who you are doesn't fit here. It's too much or it's too big, and you need to put it back in there because you're making us uncomfortable.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I'm sure we all have a little stories about that, and I'm sure I don't know, I'm a female. I'm sure men also are dismissed, but yeah,
absolutely.
Mariah and I
Yeah.
could go on and on about how we've been sitting in meetings, and I love the whole finger thing, like, "Oh, yes," and the leaning over, like, just having those examples because then you are aware of it, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I've been in that. Oh, yeah, I've been in that." Right? Like, all of our listeners, they've been in it. It's something we have to all deal with.
Okay, I'm gonna make a pop culture reference right here because it's like super top of mind. But the current season of Bridgerton, the second half of the
So good,
third
so
season,
good.
um, there's this whole narrative about being yourself and how women are just not and have had not been historically uh, allowed to be themselves and to be their full expression of themselves, whether that be in how they dress, how they look, how their mannerisms, all of that. And it's interesting. I don't want to spoiler alert, but a male character is telling a female character to be herself and then has to accept when herself doesn't
Oh,
necessarily
right.
align with what he thought it should be. But that really hit me because that's exactly what you're talking about here. And that happens from men and women to each other all the time. Like this is pervasive. It isn't only gender specific. But kids at that certain age, that middle school age, really struggle with themselves, who they are, and one of the easiest ways to feel better about that is to make somebody else feel bad about who they are, right? It's this like vicious
Yes.
cycle of like figuring it out and who are you and I think bringing up kids to be embodied and during that time of their life to battle through that in a way that is productive is huge. Something that I'm really grateful for is that my daughters went through 7th grade during the pandemic,
Oh
and
gosh.
I was like, "If there was 1 year to not have to be in the school, I think we nailed it." Like, we just got lucky, but yeah, because I just know how vicious kids are at that age, and so and the point being too that that continues through the rest of their life, potentially into their adulthood and their own relationships, and I love that you became aware of this at some point and then took on the mission to help others be aware of this and combat it, like get past it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a continual journey for me.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've really been working on like, what is my reason for being? What is my purpose? At least from a vocational perspective. I'm not sure that I'll ever really land on like why am I here? But from a purpose standpoint, I really feel like my purpose is to help people connect to themselves
Mm,
more deeply
mm.
and connect to others more deeply. But in order to connect to others and to like show up as our authentic selves, we really need to have like a deep sense of, an understanding of who we are on the inside. And
Yep.
sometimes it's really painful to be self aware. Like, I've been like, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to just be just completely unaware, like
Oblivious.
an oblivious
Yes.
bliss?
Yes.
But that doesn't do much for the people around us, right? Yeah.
It it holds us back deeply. I think one of the things I'm most grateful for in my own life is my comfort with who I am and like joy around that. And I feel like Monique, you share that as
Yes.
well. And that has allowed us to propel past many of the barriers that could have gotten in our way. And so again, in that like seeing people and wanting to help them see that in themselves, that's exactly what we talked about is like, no, you're in there and you're awesome. And the more authentic you are to yourself, the more you're going to connect with others that can appreciate and enjoy that. And whether that's at home and or at work, I it's just so sad when someone can't truly be their authentic self. So thank you for doing that work and
Mhm.
sharing that with the world.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else I'd be doing. Yeah,
It's
I
your
could have gone
calling.
off in a whole nother direction, but I don't know what that would have looked like. I've always been a very like r- curious person, kind of a risk taker. Yeah, much to my demise at times, but it's helped, right, in like being an entrepreneur. But I want to share kind of like it's not, I don't want to say it's the end, it's the next chapter
Yes.
of
Yes,
that,
please do.
finding comfort in expression on stage, singing. Um, so this or last fall, my daughter wanted to try out for a musical here in Duluth with the Duluth Playhouse, and they are actually a semi-professional theater now.
Yes.
Mhm.
Standards are way up here, and
Yes,
it's
It's
yes,
freaking
incredible.
yes.
terrifying to even think that a person like me could be on that stage in any capacity. But so Nora, my daughter Nora, she's just turned 12, and she said, "I want to try out, but like it's super scary." And I said, "Well, if you try out, I'll try out." And I'm thinking,
Oh.
she's not gonna try out. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, she
Yeah.
might, but like, even if she does, I'll try out. But like, I won't get cast. So it's just this exercise in supporting Nora. And so we both go to the initial audition, and I leave the audition after thinking that I completely botched it. Okay. So I'm sitting in my car, and that like reel is going, like that record player is going, and it's not
Yes.
in the back of my head at this point. It's like pretty far
It's
forward,
right
like
there.
front and center, right? Like I suck. I don't know why I tried this. I don't know why, who am I,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yes,
who
imposter.
yeah, absolutely. So that just was like hitting me. So I sat on that feeling, and I used all of my mindfulness tools to like try to overcome that for a week. Right. And I was like waiting for the rejection email. And I get an email and it says, "We would like you to come back for a callbacks for a nun and for the role of Ursula," which is just like this, little tiny part, a housekeeper part in The Sound of Music.
Love it.
And I'm like, I got, this is like a full goosebumps moment.
Yeah.
I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I tell Nora, because she hadn't heard yet. She had the exact same narrative going on. Of course, I didn't speak the narrative
Yeah.
out loud
Oh.
to her. I was,
Yeah.
so that was not like I really had to keep it in me. So I was trying to coach her with what I knew was like the right self-talk. And at the same time, I had an
Coach
awareness
yourself.
that like I was not really embodying that. And so
Yes.
she probably
Wow.
felt that, of course, because she's
Yes.
very, very, very intuitive child. But she also got called back. And she got called back for the role of Marta, which was one of the children in The Sound of Music. So it's a one of the lead,
Yeah.
roles for children. And so we both auditioned again, and we ended up both being cast in it was the
Snaps, girl.
yeah, right. It was the biggest selling show of
Yes.
all time for
Yes.
110-year history of that organization.
Yes. It was
Epic. It
yes.
was so epic. You killed it.
I
You
was so, like, just honored to be on that stage and to be stepping back into that vulnerability because you guys, one of my you know how you have recurring nightmares? Well, I do. I
Mhm.
don't know if everybody else does, but, like,
Yes.
one of my recurring nightmares was, that I was cast in a show, but I didn't know that I was cast in it, and I got pushed out onto the stage, and I
Oh,
was standing out there, and I didn't know what to say, or I didn't know what to sing. I didn't know my lines, and I froze in my dream. And so,
wow.
like, birthing this experience in real
Yes.
life has helped me overcome that subconscious fear of, like, not being prepared or just maybe, like, the imposter syndrome of, like, not being fit, not being the right person to be serving
Mm.
in this role. And I found my people in the theater, like, we had so much fun in the green room, in the dressing
Yes.
room, like, I was surrounded by people who had really or have really embraced who they are from the inside out. And so I learned so much, technically speaking, from our director, from the designers, from fellow actors, but also just from the people who I was able to be on a team with um, in the
And
cast.
your expressiveness is exactly what they're looking for
Absolutely.
in the theater. And it's that when you continue to be yourself, you will ultimately find yourself amongst other people where who you are is what they're looking for as well. And I mean, thinking about that, like you are meant for the stage and in your speaking and your performing and all of that,
Mhm.
you got there. You finally got there. But I love that it came through helping your daughter to learn these skills and to
Mhm.
put herself out there and in the end healed you and prepared her for, I mean, just having a quicker start than somebody else. So I love that so
I
much.
wanna say too that I've noticed in you since you did perform, you have claimed, like, "I actually wanna be a paid speaker."
Ah,
Right? So,
yes.
like, to our listeners even, like, take the risk because it might, even though you maybe had this experience when you were young where you felt you shrunk because of your feedback, still keep leaning in and taking the risks because now paid speaking engagements, conferences, like just through just keep going and keep trying, right?
Yeah. And I then after, yeah, absolutely. Like, I think if people can just really step into every day doing something, like Eleanor Roosevelt's quote of, like, "Every day do something that scares you."
Yes, I love that quote.
I mean, and
Yes.
I love comfort. I mean, I love me my sugar and, like, my soft blankets and, like, I
Yes.
love hanging out in this world where, like, I'm comfortable, right? And even, like,
Yeah.
professionally speaking, like, "Oh, I got this. I've been doing this over here for this long. I don't even really have to think about it. It comes so easy." And so stepping into being a beginner and being willing to be vulnerable and have the shit scared out of you is just such an exhilarating feeling, and it
Yes.
it it hurts so bad as you're leaning up into it, and as I was, like, gearing up even, like, the scariest thing, this is gonna sound so weird, is what for me was mic check before the performance.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
There's nobody in the audience. It's the sound designer's there, the director might be there, maybe 1 or 2 other actors who are waiting.
Mhm.
And like, learning with acting for me, I was never really afraid of an audience. It's being afraid of the fellow people who are offering their talent. So, like, I've always been afraid of
Oh.
letting down or not, being enough for the people on stage with me. So
Ooh, there's so much there.
right?
Yeah,
I
there
mean, like,
is.
it's kind of
Yes.
fascinating, and
Yes.
Nora told me my daughter told me that her same fear was mic check, and I hadn't told her that. She was like, "Oh my god, mom, mic check is so hard for me." And because it's just this really, like, everything is stripped away, right? And, like, it's just raw.
It's that
It's a raw
dream.
And yeah,
scrutiny.
it's the dream.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Okay, well, here we are with now I have to face basically, it's now I have to face myself in the mirror
Mm.
and see what's up," right?
Yes.
Mhm. And my
Right.
peers see how I'm
Yeah.
received, right.
And you are one who thrives in the crowd. And so the idea that the audience, like you're pulling their energy, there's so many different energies coming from a crowd that you can run with and know that you're serving, but to confront yourself or other people that you deeply respect and in that like really broken down environment of just alone on the stage, no audience. I can see that for you. I can see that
Mhm.
where for you, or somebody else who has that same like comfort in the crowd, that could be real freaking scary.
Yeah, yeah, like,
Yeah.
I can hide myself in my extroversion, which is very,
Right.
very interesting kinda concept I've explored. Yeah, yeah, and we had
Yeah.
23 standing ovations,
Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
and
god.
I was just a nun in the chorus, right? I mean, like, I was just like,
They're
"I'm just hanging out
they're
back here.
clapping for me.
I'm just hanging out back here."
That's awesome.
But it was exhilarating, and I kept saying to, like, other actors, like, you feel that? You feel that?" And they're like, "Yeah, Katrina, we feel it," like,
Kind of how this
yeah, we're
goes.
kinda numb to it now," like, and I'm like, I get chills every time," and I'm sure that goes away at once you can do it enough, but, yeah, it was an extraordinary experience, and one last thing I'll share about that experience was the kids who were, our fellow cast members in the show. They were amazing, first of all. Um, they demonstrated so much courage, vulnerability, willingness to learn, not taking things personally when they were offered feedback, right? But what was so cool was backstage, as we would come off the stage, they'd be back there waiting to give us silent high fives.
Oh,
"Way to go, guys. You're doing great. You got this. You guys are awesome." So, like, this intergenerational, like, these kids are cheering us on and saying, "You got this." And so it was yeah, probably will be one of the highlights of my entire life for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Mhm.
well, I really believe that the universe placed you in that scenario, to allow you to help your daughter learn that lesson at probably precisely, or as you said, precisely the age where you started shrinking. You were helping her to go the other direction, but also snuck in there some message for you about how much better it can even get. Like how I mean, you are made for a larger stage than where you've been performing, and like it's just the sky's the limit from here. So I look at you and I'm like, this girl needs to be like the whole world. Let's shout it from a mountaintop. Katrina
Right.
Pierson. Like you need to know her. You need to hear from her no matter what it is you're doing. Like it does like you're also a yoga teacher. I mean, Katrina does so many things and like
Yeah,
no matter what it is
multi-talented.
you're doing with her, you just feel better afterwards. You feel better to be in her presence. And the world needs more people like that out there and
I would say
sharing
for
those
for
talents.
me, I think that you embody the name of your company and your brand. You're growing by design. Like I have seen
Ooh,
you grow so much. And it's been an honor and a privilege to like be alongside you and see and observe that because you've had some things that you've had struggles as we all do and you weren't quite sure what you're going to do and you pivoted and it's fantastic. So, I think you embody your name.
Oh, thanks, you
I so
guys.
agree. And when in as an entrepreneur, when your brand becomes in your embodiment, and I
Mhm.
think that leads to like exactly what you said, it's like the whole of like being yourself. When you can be embodied within your brand through its name, its colors, its look, its feel, suddenly it clicks. And again, sky's the limit. Like you can go so far with it and it can be so easy uh to share with others, to find new service offerings. Like when it clicks, it clicks. And I know from my own experience, my in my early days of entrepreneurship, I did not identify with my brand. Like I didn't choose or create the brand Northland Special Events because it resonated with me. I think about the color palette. I think about, I'm like, whose business was that anyways? And I fought that for so long of just not feeling it, and finally decided like, no, to hell with this. Like I have to figure out how to be more embodied in my branding, and that has been transformational. And then for us with Heart and
Mhm.
Soul,
Yes.
the way that it organically came
Yeah.
about and how it literally came out of
Us.
us and our relationship,
Yes.
it has legs. And so like to bring full circle back to little Katrina on the side of the road with her wares, facing the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, um, the being authentic within your branding and within your messaging and what you're creating and putting out there
Mhm.
is so important. Your buyer can sense it. like everything aligns
Mhm.
around it. And
Mhm.
so I love how you are growth by design, growing by design, putting yourself out there in situations where you're scared every day or you're having to face your fears. And from that, like Monique said, I can just see, I just can't wait to see where this goes. I want to be an observer and in your audience all the time.
Oh, guys, geez. We should do this every day. What are you guys doing tomorrow?
Yeah. I'm
All
here for
right.
it.
Well, so
Yeah.
to kind of and to close the theater story, I ended up auditioning for a women's play festival, women's playwright festival actually, and played the role of Medusa of all freaking
Mm.
intensely complex characters,
Amazing.
which was absolutely terrifying because it was on a small stage, and so that was just a couple of months ago. Yeah,
I
Mariah.
got to see that one
I
too.
know it was wild
She's a
because it was a
natural.
tiny
That
stage.
would be
A
hard.
black box theater where you are literally you could see the whites of the eyes of your audience. I can't even imagine how different that would have been. And yeah, like we were in it together.
Yeah, it was very bare, and the process of pulling that, it was a one-act play, but it was 22 pages of memorization,
Wow,
like,
that's a lot.
I can talk all day, I can riff all day, I can ad-lib, I can rhyme, I can d but ask me to memorize a script word for word, and like, all of my abilities seem to just, like, melt away. So
But you
even
did
that,
it.
but I did it and I
Yeah, new
learned.
challenges,
And
right?
Medusa in particular is just this beautiful metaphor. If you don't know the story, I'd encourage you to read about her. Or there's some great podcasts about her. But essentially, she was a maiden who um was basically cast away to an island, and when she would gaze at men, she would turn them to stone. And so this
Mm.
script in particular, actually, it was freaky because I didn't even try out for this particular role. I just showed up and gave a monologue, right? And then they called me back and they said, "We want you to play Medusa." And this script in particular focuses on Medusa seeing what she has on the inside
My
and no
God.
longer, yeah, being influenced. Well, I shouldn't say no longer being influenced, but no longer being guided by the ways in which other people saw her, but seeing like the beauty and the goodness in herself. And
Wow.
that as she began to do that, the people who she looked at who saw that in her would not turn to stone. It was only the
That's so
people
cool.
who meant her harm in this particular
Oh.
script who would turn to stone. So back to your point of like when we
Yes.
find people who see in us what we have, like,
Mhm.
or when we begin to step into who we are. And I believe this is a daily practice. I don't believe this is like yeah, I'm here now, so I'm good. But like when we practice that authenticity and that courage every day, we attract those our tribe. And like that's what I've just so loved about spending time with you guys is like I just feel like we're meant to be together
Mhm.
at this moment in time. And it's a
Mhm.
miracle in so many ways that we've been blessed with the time that we've had together and the adventures and freaking Italy and
Mexico
Mexico.
City.
Mexico City. I'm driving you guys around Italy like I know what I'm doing.
So
Oh, the
good.
memories.
Ugh.
I just yeah, the Medusa role for you,
Yeah,
I mean,
makes sense.
continuing to just have all of the stars align around your journey and your path is so cool. So my question is what's next? What's next for Katrina
Mm.
Pierson? Let's end
Mhm.
on that because I want people to know where they can find you, see you on stage, interact with you online, and what are your hopes and dreams for what's next?
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Well, so one of the things that I'm most excited about is offering, like I mentioned at the beginning, our executive search recruitment services with Growth by Design. And so we are basically creating this new model, this new system, this different way of looking at hiring practices that is particularly relevant because of our basically our inability to find the right people to serve because we have a workforce shortage. And so
Mm.
we are assisting clients now who we're working with on leadership projects or through change management in finding the right leader for their organization. And so we do executive level, but also management. And what we're helping them with is doing skills-based hiring. So if you've heard of the paper ceiling, it's basically the idea that people who are qualified for positions but don't hold an actual degree, a bachelor's degree or master's or above, are being looked over. They don't even have the opportunity to apply for a position because maybe they've worked their way up within their
Sure.
organization or
But
business,
they're
but
probably the exact person the organization needs.
they probably are. And
Right.
and these people often can't actually move from one business to the other. So they're stuck where they are because that's where they've proven themselves. But so a example would be a client of ours would be hiring for an executive director of a large nonprofit, right? And so they would just automatically copy paste. Okay, here are the qualifications. We're going to copy paste from what we see other people doing.
Sure.
And then they get the applicants and they're like, none of these people fit. Why can't we find a unicorn? And and
Yeah.
we're saying, no, not what are the qualifications. We want to ask, what are the skills? Who do you want this person to be? What do you want them to embody? What do they need to be
Yeah.
good at? What is it that you actually are looking for? And then we're going to back into how can we find that? And so the thing that's really exciting is we're basically broadening the pool of potential
Oh, for
candidates for our
sure.
clients, right? And at the same time, we're diversifying it. We're making it more
Mhm.
inclusive because most often it's been women and people of color who have not been able to negotiate specific titles for themselves, right?
Mm.
Like, let's just be honest. That's where we are. And
Yes.
so this is no longer about needing to have had a specific job description or title or degree in order to qualify. This is about showing experience. This is about demonstrating talents, gifts, mindsets. And we have this wonderful new tool to assist with some of this. So we're essentially providing our clients with assessments. And it's basically all pulled together into one so we can help create a profile of what it is that they're looking for. And then we can send out the assessments, have their potential candidates take those assessments, and then they can get a really clear picture of what this person brings, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, as well as what they can learn from the interview, right? From the references, from the cover letter and
Mhm.
all of
Yeah.
the traditional methods, right?
Mhm.
But really having a clear picture of all these different ways to look at the way that their candidates view the world and what they could potentially bring to the culture of their organization. So it's a really pretty different way of doing business,
Yes.
and there are a couple of large recruitment firms who are offering this. But I think what makes us different is that we are really focusing on purpose-driven leaders. So whether it's a nonprofit or for profit or my favorite, a hybrid social enterprise, we want to help our clients find people who know their purpose or who have a strong sense of who they are and what their gifts are and bring that into the workplace to really transform how they do business.
How perfectly does all of that wrap up all of the pieces that we've been talking about today? I'm just sitting here listening to you and being
Right.
like, do you hear this? Do you see this?
Yes.
Like, what you're doing is now helping organizations be themselves and understand who they are and find the people whose values and true identities align so that together they can make magic. Boom. Like, that's
Mhm.
exactly what you
Mhm.
are now offering in a new package and in a new service to your clients, and that's everything that we've been discussing from the beginning of your journey and your
Right.
story.
Can you do my ad campaign? 'Cause
Yes.
that's, like, so perfect. I
Yes.
love the magic idea.
I mean,
Yeah, I
it
might
really
need you to sign
is.
off on that.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like that whole piece of, like, I mean, I've done a lot of work in business of, like, you've gotta find it's not just about finding a person, it's the right person.
Yes.
The right person in the right seat. And that right person has to identify with your organization's values and alignment. And you have to put them in the right seat that matches their skill set and their capacity. And when you put those two together,
Magic.
you have a fit and you have a culture fit and you have a lot of potential for success. But if that candidate maybe checks all the boxes on a piece of paper, but doesn't align from a values point of view or a purpose driven point of view, or if that candidate doesn't actually have the skills and capacity to do that job, you're going to have friction, problems. It's not going to work out. And knowing that from the hiring is a place to start, and then being able to assess that over time and continue to see. But when it's a fit, oh my gosh, I know. The minute I started hiring that way, changed the whole trajectory of my company, and has allowed me to see like immediately when somebody is not a right fit. And I say now, I hire on vibes.
I
I
love it.
hire on
That's exactly
vibes.
what it is. But
Yes.
vibes have an energy,
Yes.
and
Oh, for sure.
energy is science. And right, like this is we can actually, I don't want to say that everything is about assessments because I'm not all about that, right? Like there's something that's above and beyond that too that we can like share with one another, but we can actually have a strong sense of what that is on the front end,
hmm
and it's backed up. There's, all a variety of different ways that we can look at the mindset of folks and to see whether or not it fits. So, yeah, as like my teenage son Jack would say, 100%.
100%.
100%.
I love it.
100%.
Well, that's exciting, and I can't wait to see how far you can take that in the highest
Mhm.
reaches of companies and firms that could benefit from that offering. And so my next question is, what's next for Katrina Pierson personally? Can we see you on the stage anytime soon? Are
Or
you going back into
singing or teaching
theater?
yoga.
What's next?
Ooh, yeah. So I am actually working on my writing again. So
Okay.
I'm working on a script right now, and it's for a television series
What?
that is
Ooh.
really focused around my life because that's what I know. And my mom is playing a starring role in it, and the experience that we've had in um, being a part of my dad's journey with early dementia.
Okay.
And it's a
Mm.
dark comedy, so buckle up.
Wow.
I don't even know if she knows I'm doing this yet. So
Oh, well.
She
If
does
you're
now.
listening.
Yeah, so I'm stoked about that, and I plan to submit a pitch to the Catalyst Content Festival.
Oh, great idea.
Just to get some feedback, right, from them and see what
Amazing.
comes of it. And also, it's just like capturing what is it like to be a, late 30s something woman who's just like trying to freaking get her shit together, and the fun of
Yes.
that, and just the daily journey of the mess and the beauty and everything that kind of falls in together.
I can attest, I would watch that show
Oh,
because
for
I know
sure.
Yes.
you, and if it's coming from you, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be funny, heartwarming, all of the above. And I love how that aligns with Catalyst Content Festival, which is actually happens here in Duluth. And Duluth is this like this growing film industry and movies and television. And like you are perfectly placed right now to take this next leap. So let's go. I can't wait to see where it takes you.
Rock on. I'm so excited. Yeah, no, we're
Well, we will be
lucky.
supporting and clapping and snapping for you in the background for sure.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
you guys, I
be
said
in
it
the
out
front
loud.
row.
I said it out loud, so now I
Right.
got to do
You
it.
said it here
Oh, boy.
today.
I said it on
Yeah.
purpose.
So now all eyes are on you getting this done and making this
It will
happen,
happen.
and we are here to help. Absolutely.
You
And
guys are the
coach you.
best. When do we get to do the group hug?
Yay.
I know it's coming.
And I'm sure there will be more travels for us all too, because that's one thing that we've learned in traveling with women, and finding those perfect travel companions energetically,
Mhm.
as there's so much growth that happens on the road. So I can't
Yeah,
wait
you have
for
to
us.
pivot. It's weird. You're out of your
Face
comfort
fears.
zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
especially the
good.
international travel. So I'm excited to
Yes.
set the next location and date with you guys.
Yeah.
So
Where we're
Oh,
gonna go next.
maybe we'll do that over our next dinner.
Cool. Thank you so much for spending time and holding space with us here today
Mhm.
on the podcast, for giving us the idea to be our authentic selves and take
Yes.
to a new medium and do something scary. And now I think
Mhm.
this is our 32nd episode
It's
that we have
crazy.
recorded, which is so cool. And we just appreciate you so much.
Oh, you guys, thank you so much. It's just a huge honor.
Cheers, friends. You've just finished another episode of the Heart and Soul podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed the show, and if you've loved it, we would love if you'd leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening. You can find links to leave that review in the show notes, where you'll also find other resources that we reference on our show. And if you think a friend could find value in today's episode or any future episodes, please share this episode with them on social media. This is one of the only ways the podcast can organically grow, and we just can't wait to connect with you and all of your besties. You can also find Monique and I on our many social media platforms or our websites, and we're going to leave links to those in the show notes as well. Thank you for listening. We look forward to sharing our hearts and souls with you again next time. With Heart, I'm Mariah.
And with Soul, I'm Monique.